Okay, it's happening. Hi, I'm Heather, and I am a grateful member of Al-Anon. Is everyone comfortable? Did you guys eat? You got good shoes on? See, I belong in Al-Anon. Everyone's good. I wanted to thank everyone who puts this event together, and I wanted to thank Chris for the introduction and my two wonderful friends here who are helping me be brave. So thank you so much. I have to say, when they asked me to speak here, I was like, okay, yeah, that's good, I can speak, I can do that. When they told me that I had to wear a dress to speak, this is when I panicked. Last night I even said, Zan, do you think that I could wear yoga pants? She goes, why would you want to wear yoga pants? I said, in case I have to run. Whoosh! We've got a runner. Now we know a little how that story is going to go. And yeah, so I got ready this morning. I put on the dress, I put on the false advertising bra, and here we are. Well, so the first thing I think that I should tell you about me is I am a double winner. Woo! And that is a really nice way of saying twice as sick. It's a little like bless your heart in the South. It's a little like that. You know, when I first got introduced to a 12-step program, I went right through the front doors of our sister program, Alcoholics Anonymous. I had no idea at the time I was a double winner. I qualified everybody. But there were signs. First of all, you may or may not know that when someone's newly sober, they have relapse dreams, and they wake up in the middle of the night, we think we've used, and we haven't, and we're relieved. And I had those for a little bit. Then I started having dreams that my sponsor relapsed. For real, that's a true story. I started having dreams that my sponsor relapsed, not me. So in the beginning, I was happy to just, let's get these shoes off. I was happy to just be the qualifier. But right around 25 years old, I met my first qualifier. I had 2 kids. He was working at the school. He had 3 kids in the school. They were in a Catholic school. And his daughter could invite 1 child to the birthday party and decided to invite my son. And so my son and I, we went to the birthday party, and he was so funny. And as it turns out, I had no idea, but he was also a member of AA. And when he tells the story, he says that he closed the door, he turned around, and he told the kids, his kids, Dad's met his new wife. I left, and because I was 25 at the time, and he was in his 30s, and he'd been an airborne ranger in the Army and Special Forces, and he got like a 5 o'clock shadow. He was like a real grown-ass man. And like, so far, I'd just kind of, hung out with 25-year-olds. And so I think what I really liked about him was that he was going to qualify me for Al-Anon. Just something there just seemed like the right thing to do. And him and I got married. That made 5 kids between the 2 of us. And because we're insane, we have 2 of our own. We now have 5 boys and 2 girls. Yeah. And the beginning of the relationship with both of us in sobriety, I mean, it really went like something you'd see on television. You guys watch the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp trials? A little like that. I want to go on the record that I did not defecate on a bed. I didn't think of it. I feel like that was something from my 20s. I feel like the window's closed. Anyways, about when he was 5 years sober, he started drinking again. So here's what happened. I really felt like I understood the disease of alcoholism. I had it myself. In fact, I think I was a little arrogant about it. And so the first time he relapsed, I considered him like another sick alcoholic. As the relapses continued, I started to meet it with a little bit of judgment, and intolerance. And I practiced kind of detachment without love. I just needed him to leave the house. That's all I needed him to do, is just leave the house. And at the time, I had, because of my other entrance into the 12-step program, I hadn't graduated high school. I had my GED. So I did what anybody with a GED does when they have a large family. I got my real estate license. And I was pretty good at it. So I am now, 27 years old. I am the sole supporter of 9 people. I'm selling real estate, and my husband's completely going off the deep end. And the less he does, the more I do. The less he does, the more I do. And the disease of more is there, but it's now about people. You ask the busiest person you know, that was me, and I could get it done. It didn't matter. I would wake up first thing in the morning, I would work, I would bring home money, I would get home, I would cook, clean, maybe lecture him about drinking, just saying, this is a disease, you need to stop it, you need to get a meeting, you need to call your sponsor. I had a plan that would get him sober if he would only listen to me. If you loved me, you'd stop drinking. Lie. So by 30 now, I'm a single mother of 7 kids. I have just sold real estate, and that time in your life where you think if you have these things, everything's going to be okay, right? So I'd managed to move me and the 7 kids into a 5,500 square foot golf course home in Mill Creek. And I'm selling real estate, and I have the kids, the 5 older ones are teenagers. They're 36 months apart, and they're all in high school. And I have the 2 little ones. And I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning because the kids have to be at tutoring by 6. There's 2 in select soccer, and they need to get to their soccer practices, and I have offers to write in the afternoon, and there has to be food on the table, and I work at an office in Green Lake, and I am going and going and going and going, and the entire time I do it, what I hear around me is, look at you go. You're so strong. I could never do what you do. I could never do that. That's amazing. Those kids are so lucky to have you. And my ego is like giant. It's giant. And I really think it has never occurred to me, not even one time, not even once, at 25, at 27, that this is something that I can't do. Not once. I have this idea that every single thing is figure-outable. I can figure it out. Whatever it is, I will figure it out. And so I'm figuring all this out, right? I'm handling everything. Now, do you hear God in this? I don't, right? And then the very first thing happens that I can't figure out. The very first thing happens that I can't figure out. My mind really thought everything was okay, but my body was taking notes. My body was taking notes on what I was doing. and the stress levels and the lack of sleep. And I woke up with complete facial paralysis one day on the left side of my face. I think it's called Bell's palsy. And that is a humbling experience as a woman, to say the least. Couldn't close my own eye, couldn't smile, couldn't do any of that. And they usually say it'll last about 2 weeks. Mine was 18 solid months. And it was disfiguring. And when I say that, and you think maybe I'm exaggerating, one time when I was out, a little girl stopped and said, "Mommy, what's wrong with that lady's face?" I learned something about myself and about my identity and about being more than how you look and more than what you do. So I did take this one cue, and I slowed down a little bit. I sold that house on the golf course. I moved into a rental, moved into a smaller house, but we've still got all the kids, okay? At this point, I'm starting to be concerned about these kids, and I'm still trying to outsmart the disease of alcoholism. Okay, so I know that from the 12th step that they need a spiritual experience. But what if I got them a spiritual experience before they ever drink? Figure outable. My fear, one of my biggest fears, is that my children will be like me or be like I was. And so the ones that are younger agree to go to church. I put them in Bible camps. I'm going to get these kids a spiritual experience, and then I'm going to dodge the disease of alcoholism in my children, and everything's going to be fine. I could understand the powerlessness over alcohol in myself, but I, for some reason, could not understand it in my loved ones. I absolutely could not understand it. I really thought that I could say something, some combination of words, that they would hear and they would have their moment. Because all I knew is that all I have to do is get people into the doors of this 12-step program, and everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And that is what I'm trying to do. Two of the older boys, they are the first to start looking like they have the disease of drugs and alcohol. I start having children go to treatment centers like other people have children going to college. And actually, it's not so terrible, because I really wanted them to get to treatment. So, I was like, do. They're not happy. But I am thrilled. This is it. This is happening. Now they are going to be in a 12-step program, and everything's going to be okay, and I'm going to be okay, and all this is going to work out. Everything is going to be absolutely fine. It's going to be fine, right? Everything's going to be fine. And I want to tell you guys about my son, Joe. He was one of the boys that, he started going, doing the things that I know are indicative of alcoholism and drug addiction. But man, he's a funny kid, right? And he's self-proclaimed mama's boy, and he's always playing pranks on me. One of his favorite ones is texting was brand new. And I always like to know what's going on and what's happening, what's new culturally. And so I tell Joey, I want to learn these short texting things. This is what I want to learn. And he says, okay, Mom. And so he told me LOL is laugh out loud. And he says, and then this one I think you'll really like. I think it's really going to work for you. And I said, okay, what is it? He says, it's STFU. I said, well, what does that mean? So thankful for you. I text that stuff. So I hope your day is going really good. La 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 la. STFU. And he is just such a card. And I'm a little bit afraid of heights, so, when we'd go put the Christmas lights up, because I'm still a single mom, I was about 33 when the Bell's palsy happened, and it got a little better. So he'd be the one that would shake the ladder on me, right? And I'd be like, Jesus, Joseph, and Mary, to scare me. And, one thing about the Bell's palsy, it actually turned out okay. See, there's a silver lining to everything. It ended up free Botox. I only got 80% back. I can't frown. Watch. Let the record show the speaker tried to frown and could not. So if somebody says Heather was around frowning, you can be like, this is tomfoolery. She cannot frown. She absolutely cannot. So anyways. So, things take kind of a turn with Joe, They kind of take a turn. And his addiction gets a little bit more serious. He starts doing opiates. And I'm starting really to experience this phenomenon of having my recovery, my joy, and my serenity attached to somebody in active disease. And it is insanity. It is a kind of insanity that I had never experienced before. And I just wasn't able. I could be kind of tough about it because I thought that's what I was supposed to do, but when he was missing or he wasn't doing well, I'm sliding down a wall at my house and rocking, right? Because I think something's going to happen to him. And he gets into treatment. I drive him to treatment. And he goes into Alcoholics Anonymous. And I enjoyed, thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous, 3 years with my son sober. And it was amazing. When he got his 1-year coin, I cheered for him like he was graduating from Harvard. Just like, ah! I could not have been prouder. Joe didn't stay sober, unfortunately. He didn't stay sober. I ended up getting the call, that we all dread, and late at night. And Joey's overdosed on heroin, and he didn't make it. If you're a parent and you have lost a child, you know what that moment is like, and it is a primal level of pain that I hope for nobody. I hope for nobody. And it was something that everything went dark, right? Everything went dark. There's this thing that I've heard of, I think it's a poet that says, it talks about the dark night of the soul. And the dark night of the soul is specifically a disconnection with your higher power. Now, I had not been honoring my children or any of my loved ones' presence of a higher power in their life. I really was stepping into that role. But I had a higher power for myself. And that connection was just like suddenly shut off. It took me a little bit, right? Because every time I woke up in the morning, before my eyes would open, I could feel and I would remember that Joey's dead. Joey's dead. And it would be this weight. And it was right before I rose. The good news is that things always get better. What happened at that point is, in the story, let's say we're on a roller coaster, right? And it's going up with the disease that got me here and into the rooms of Alanon, and it's going. So we're at the top now. I'm about to really just lose it. We're going down. So, I just develop a fear, right? A fear that every single one of my children is going to die, all 7 of them, and I have a way they're going to die, and it is now my life's mission to make sure that they don't. They're not going to die because I'm going to prevent it. I will single-handedly stand in the way of alcoholism and drug addiction and death and jails and institutions and all of those things. Between the children and I, it'll be me. I'm going to stand in the way. And it leveled the family. That loss leveled our family. The 2 little ones that, they were in Bible camp, and then one was cheerleading and the other one was playing football, and things seemed to be good. They start going off the deep end too. The one that was sober with Joey relapses. And I just start having a lack of faith. And see, that's the thing, is for me, the opposite of faith is control. The opposite of faith is control. And the more fear I'm in about the children, the more control I exhibit. And I'm getting a little bit more insane now. Like, I'm really just legit getting insane. And here's a perfect example. To protect her anonymity, I'm going to use a name none of you know. That is Banana. Banana has gone through treatment, and she is living with me in Seaside. At the time, she was about 16 years old. And all she has to do is get a job. I know this because she just needs a little direction. If she gets a little direction and she gets an AA, then everything's going to be fine, right? Because everything's always going to be fine. The problem is, this little girl smokes pot every dang day. And Fred Meyer has a drug test. She's not going to pass that test. And I think to myself, everything is figure-outable. What can we possibly do about Hannah and this drug test? Banana. Banana! So, Banana being my girl child, her and I are pretty dang close, and you're just about to find out how close we are. And I may not be able to give my children their sobriety. I may not be able to offer anything with whatever my 27 years was at the time, but you know what I have? I have clean frickin' urine. Yeah, I do. Clean urine. So we concoct this idea because she's going to take this urine test and then she's going to get a job at Fred Meyer, mind you, as a cart pusher. Her whole life rests on this. I just know it. I just know that if this doesn't happen, nothing is going to go well. So I think all I need to do is pee into a condom. I do. I pee into a condom. We tie it in a knot. Banana hoo-haws that. Banana now is standing there with the condom inside her full of her mother's clean pee. Everything is going to be fine. She has long nails. So the plan is, because, being in AA all those years, I feel like someone's going to watch her at Fred Meyer. They might watch you. That's what they do. They watch people pee. I've heard of this. And so she has long nails, and so she's going to puncture the condom. The urine of mine that's in her is going to go in the cup. She's going to get the job at Fred Meyer. That will make her stay sober. She'll end up being the general manager of the entire store. I know it because she's my baby girl. She's super talented, and she just doesn't know it. She just hasn't realized her full potential yet. That's all that's happened. And now she's got this urine, and it's all good. So she goes in there to take the urine test, and I don't know. It's not my life. I don't know this. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I hope she passes the urine test. What if the whole thing pops? I'm just like, oh. About 20 minutes later, she comes out, and I'm like, Banana, how did it go? She said, it was an oral swab, Mom. just, hoo-ha, mama's urine for nothing. Everything is figure-outable. Oh my gosh. We're getting close to Al-Anon now. Getting closer. So, by the time I get into Al-Anon, the insanity is like so present. I have a hat at home that stands for husband of the moment. The kids, none of the kids are doing great, and I'm going to local AA meetings with my partner, who is in the program, and coming home at night and drinking. I'm covering for him. You know, I don't tell anybody. Nobody needs to know. If somebody wants to stop by my house, they can't, right? They can't stop by because he might be drunk. He might be drunk, so he can't come by the house. And I'm still running rescue missions with those kids, right? I will get in my car at a moment's notice, and I'll be in Portland, or I'll be here, I'll be there. I will not even go on vacation because one of them might need me. Won't even leave. One day I wake up and I realize that I have traded the joy of my own recovery for somebody else's, for their lack of recovery. And I decide to go to an Al-Anon meeting. It's been suggested to me before, long before. But I was arrogant about it. I don't know what I thought was going over in that other room there where the Al-Anon meetings were, but I just didn't think I wanted any part of it. I know the 12 steps. Something in me made me think that because I was on the other side of that program with a lot of time, that I was somehow going to be vaccinated against the other side of the disease, but that's not true. I somehow thought that I could sit over in Alcoholics Anonymous and I could get myself an Al-Anon miracle. That wasn't true for me. When I walked into Al-Anon, I was a liar and a thief, and I was broken. No different than I walked into the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous. The only difference is now I was a thief of lessons. And the way I lied was I said yes when I meant no. I said, I'm fine, I don't need your help, everything's good. I've got this. My hustle basically almost killed me. I really couldn't even imagine another day like that. And I was holding on to the idea that when these qualifiers, if I could just get them sober, then I could start being happy. So, in the very first meeting of Al-Anon, I started hearing just really, really good things. And she read one of the first things that I heard, and I loved it. And it said this: in Al-Anon, we discover that no situation is really hopeless, and that it is possible for us to find contentment and even happiness, whether the alcoholic is still drinking or not. What a novel idea. I remember hearing that and thinking, yeah, but it'd be way easier if they were not drinking, right? But I believed them. And I cried for my first Al-Anon meeting from the very beginning to the very end. And I needed these steps, I needed the Al-Anon steps. And the first one, they're exactly the same in Alcoholics Anonymous. However, when I worked them with a sponsor, they were so different in so many ways. Al-Anon, so I knew how to live sober, right? I knew how to live, and Al-Anon started teaching me how to love. Al-Anon kind of started teaching me how to love, because I really didn't know how to do that. And it taught me about gray area. Apparently, there is black and there is white, which is where I had, that's where I normally resided. Al-Anon has this gentle way with the gray area. And that second part, the second step, let me get it up so that I do this right. So I read it perfect. We don't want anybody, the step police, coming after me. Okay, they're already after me. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I remember that step before. I remember thinking to myself, okay, so way back when, it's not so insane to think that I could stop this particular movement, right? Not so insane to think that. How insane is it to think you can stop somebody else's arm, somebody else's actions, what somebody else is doing? Totally insane. I experienced insanity I just never had before. And I also got to find out through the steps of Al-Anon what it felt like to be loved by me. As it turns out, all that unsolicited advice felt like judgment. As it turns out, my loved ones, in my efforts to fix them, felt like I disapproved of them. As it turns out, the truth was that it turned out that it was self-centered in the first place because I could not bear their feelings. I just couldn't. It was like, you don't get to have the dignity of a bottom. You don't get to have a disease that's all your own, that gets to run its course. You don't get to have your life lessons. I can't bear it. And when I was able to see that selfishness and turn that around, it started to really change things for me. And I started to understand that what I really needed to do was be present, And because I was a black and white thinker when I first came into Al-Anon, I left it in my purse. I wanted something to hold on to, and that thing was going to be right here. And I read this every time one of the children or somebody called me, okay? Every time I made a decision. It's from the detachment brochure. So, ring, 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 Mom, Heather, whatever it is that they want me to, whatever it is, and it is this. In Al-Anon, we learn not to suffer because of the actions or reactions of other people, not to allow ourselves to be used or abused by others in the interest of another's recovery, not to do for others what they can do for themselves, not to manipulate situations so others will eat, go to bed, get up, pay bills, not drink, or behave as we see fit, not to cover up for another's mistakes or misdeeds, not to create a crisis, not to prevent a crisis. Oh, I'm called out there. If it is in the natural course of events. It started with that, because I needed like a don't drink no matter what style thing, right? So it started with, okay, these things. When they call, this is what I can do. I can do this. And sometimes it was really hard. Sometimes it was really hard to do this on a daily basis. But I did. And then what happened was, there is an Al-Anon miracle. And the steps, it happened. pretty soon I found some joy coming back. Like I would wake up happy. I would wake up not thinking about what they were doing. I would read literature, and instead of thinking, oh man, I wish Banana would read this, I would think of myself. In every situation I realized that I was in, it's like 2 + 2 = 4, right? But I always wanted a 5 because I was always managing, martyring, and manipulating outcomes. I was always going for this 5 that I thought was going to solve everything. And if I could just get that other person to be a 3, we could have a 5. If they would just be the 3, do what I say, we would have 5. And in Al-Anon, I discovered that I have to be the 3. I am where the change is. I stopped. So you guys don't know, this is like a whole game. It's a pretty exciting game on a daily basis. It's like Easter every day when you wake up with an alcoholic, and it's called bottle hunting. There were still bottles to hunt, but I didn't hunt them, right? And it's a little bit like Marco Polo, because you go, Marco, and it's like clink, 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 clink. And I would find bottles everywhere, and that would always take up a good portion of my day. I don't know what I was going to do with these bottles, but I hunted for them obsessively. So again, that like cleared up a bunch of my day because I'm not bottle hunting. And I was like, oh, what should I do now? I know. My steps. Go for a walk. Call a friend. And the vice grip of obsession just started to release from my mind. And I started to really see how if I would just focus on myself, and if I would just allow my loved ones the space to be them, if I could start saying no sometimes when I meant yes, that happiness was mine to be had. As it turns out, I was the problem all along. It's me. And the other thing that happened when I was in Al-Anon is the way the steps are designed, the way I was taken through them, they ask you questions. And I also just thought of things in a whole different way that I never thought of before. And I learned to be a little bit gentle with myself. And the character defect portion, I did not realize that I was always doing one of the M's, they call them, managing, mothering, manipulating, or martyring. I had 4 tricks, just 4. And depending on what the situation was, is the one I would bring out, you know? And then all of a sudden, when I know that I can't bring those out anymore, what happens? I get to actually hear my loved ones. If they say they're sad, I don't have to change that. If they say they're happy, I'm not responsible. Like, really get to be present. And one of the gifts that came out of that is I have really incredible relationships with my adult children. Like, they want to hang out with me because I'm safe, because I'm not judging, because I don't always have the next best suggestion, you know? We just get to hang out and have fun. And I just absolutely love that part of Al-Anon. And let's see if I've gotten it. I have a couple little notes, you guys. Let's see how we're doing. I'm doing 2:30. There we go. Oh, we're doing really good. We're doing really good. So the one thing that I did discover in Al-Anon is that I had those character defects, those 4 M's, right? And because I had gotten kind of far away from God when my son passed, I had to start making my way back to a higher power. And then I also had to recognize that God doesn't have grandchildren, right? Just children. Just children. And so when character defects came up, because I was trying to remove them of my own power, it's like I would go around a tree, and if a leaf went yellow, I would pour water on the leaf, right? And then another leaf goes yellow, and I'm pouring water on that leaf. And then what Al-Anon helped me do is really just pour water on the roots, right? Me. Start pouring into myself, start pouring into my own recovery, and leave everybody else's life alone. As it turns out, they don't need me. They really don't need me. And I'm excited to say that I travel. I get up and go places, and I don't worry that someone's going to need me. I make my own schedule. I'm not wondering every time I do something if one of the kids is going to have a crisis. And the other thing that's really good is when I used to do things and I was doing them in a way where I would be saying yes when I meant no, is I had this general demeanor, and it was kind of like put upon, right? Phone would ring, oh my God, what are they going to want? I wasn't doing anything with a glad heart, and that became another little black and white milestone that my little heart could hang on to, and that was, can I do this with a glad heart? And so now when I do things for anyone, it's out of a full cup, right? It's the cup runneth over, it's out of the overflow. And that is such a neat thing, and it has allowed me to have such a more full life of service and so much more happiness. And I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to read something to you guys that I wrote, and it'll be one of the last things we do here together. And I have to tell you, I don't do vulnerability very well. It's not my strong suit. And so just so you know, the time of death here is 2:36. I'm going to die of vulnerability right now. Right now. This is it. It's happening. It's happening. So it is right here. I have written one poem in my entire life. I've never written a poem before or after. And I've never read this aloud to anyone, and I feel vulnerable. And I wrote it after Joey died. And it was my experience from the moment that I realized that he was in trouble until the day he passed. And it's going to go like this. I found a piece of tinfoil on your bedroom floor. It was folded so neatly, I didn't know what for. It seemed out of place because everything was fine. You are so very young. There is so much time. Your eyes look funny. Your pupils are so small. Cash is missing. Mom, you're so forgetful. Worry is my companion. I am constantly aware. My baby boy's in trouble, but you don't seem to care. My heart has legs now, and they're attached to you. Reckless and driven, you broke my heart in two. Now my love is tough, because that is what I'm told will help my full-grown son be a man that is old. Fear is heavy. All I do is pray. My hope for you to live another day. You soon to be better, not perfect but alive. Things will be brighter. This will be behind us. Your life has just begun. The phone rings. My nightmare has come true. Now I am gasping. There is so much pain. Nothing makes sense. The world has changed. Your addiction took everything. It took you from me. It took my little boy without peace or dignity. Alone in a bathroom, trying to get high. Tomorrow you would quit. Things would be different right after this last hit. Life keeps going, even though you're gone. I wish this didn't happen. I wish I could hold you in my arms. I dream of you at night. joyous and free. See you on the other side. Save a spot for me, Mom. Although when I wrote that poem, it meant a lot to me, and it still means something to me now. It really shows me how much growth getting into the program of Al-Anon and learning how to love people and work those steps and get that Al-Anon miracle has done. Because now when I read that, I realize how much of me I was projecting onto him, how much of my own experience is in that poem. Because here's really the truth of what happened. That is how I felt. And Al-Anon has taught me how to stick to the facts. The truth is, my son woke up, and it was just a normal day. He didn't plan to die that day. He was going to work, and he was going to get high, just like any other day. And he did. And that was the day, right? His heart slowed, and he passed peacefully. That's actually what happened. That's actually what happened. All of this is how I felt. And so I think what I will say is that whether you're in Al-Anon or you're an alcoholic and a drug addict, being in these rooms, being in this room, going to Al-Anon is my living amends. As an alcoholic, being in these rooms is a living amends. It really sucks to lose one of us. But we're all here, so probably not going to happen today, not to us. And I'm so grateful that you guys had me here, and I want to thank Al-Anon for giving me my smile back. Thank you.